Right now, on to the point. The deadly Esparto fireworks explosion.
How could something like this have happened, and how do we know it's not going to happen again?
The new conversations happening in the state capitol to try to prevent another tragedy like this. Breaking news in Placer County, a former MLB pitcher convicted of first-degree murder. What we heard outside the courtroom tonight. The ongoing sanitation strike causing piles and piles of trash.
I'm just sitting here waiting, that's all. That's all I can do.
How it's being addressed locally and across the nation. And housing market hesitation. What potential buyers and sellers need to know right now.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell, and we start tonight with new details in the Esparto fireworks explosion. It's been nearly 2 weeks since a warehouse full of fireworks exploded in Yolo County, which launched a major investigation. 7 people were killed. You see them right here. We know that some were fathers. Others were just getting their life started. They lived in the Bay Area, Sacramento, Stockton, and San Andreas. And tonight, as ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen reports, there is new legislation in the works to address a loophole found during this investigation.
Alex, Senator Christopher Cabaldon tells me he is looking to introduce legislation this session to address the state laws regarding licensing and enforcing laws for storing explosives. He tells me what happened in Esparto should never happen again, and he's hoping legal changes can address that.
That's our task in the Capitol and elsewhere to make sure that we tighten up these systems so that this sort of tragedy does not visit another community.
After 7 people lost their lives in an explosion at a fireworks facility in Esparto, Yolo County Senator Christopher Cabaldon says there needs to be changes at the legislative level.
We're considering and researching a set of legislative proposals to tighten up what the state's both regulatory and licensure role, and then to make sure that the locals have the tools, because as you know, we've been dealing both with some of the issues around licensing, but also the failure to abide by land use restrictions and other things that could have prevented this.
The fireworks facility in Esparto was linked to 2 companies, Black Star Fireworks and Devastating Pyrotechnics. Craig Cutright is the owner of Black Star Fireworks and was an Esparto volunteer firefighter, currently on leave of absence. Devastating Pyrotechnics is licensed to a man named Kenneth Chi, who has a prior felony conviction. While he was unable to get a federal license, he was able to get multiple fireworks licenses through the state of California. Senator Cabaldon says he's looking to address that and if they're in violation of zoning laws.
If they're blatantly violating the zoning laws, right? So there's more here than just the lack of federal-state harmony. There's also blatant disregard and violation for the law, and we have to assure that we're able to detect it and then to enforce against it.
Documents show Cutright applied for multiple permits to hold fireworks shows and included liability insurance ranging from $1 million to $5 million in coverage. Emails also show Cutright would use various email addresses from his personal account, Devastating to Black Star, and even his Esparto Fire account. Cabaldon says the details of his legislation will depend on the ongoing investigation into the fire and the people involved. During a press conference on Monday, Attorney General Rob Bonta acknowledged the complicated investigation.
We're watching closely. We're aware of the situation on the ground. We're certainly also aware of the state's actions and their explanations, the actions that they've taken to maintain the integrity of the investigation, to maintain an appropriate degree of independence.
As the investigation continues, Cabaldon tells me this is a grim reminder of the dangers of fireworks, regardless of the celebration.
We have to treat them with the respect that they need, but also to remember that we have to both have the right policies and laws and regulations and safeguards, but we must enforce them.
Last week, an attorney representing Kenneth Chi told ABC 10 he is innocent of any wrongdoing in the Yolo County fire and will refrain from making any additional comments until the investigation is complete. Craig Cutright did not respond to my request for comment. Senator Cabaldon tells me we may see new legislation addressing issues from this fire be introduced before the end of this session, which could happen in the next few months. Alex.
All right, Jeannie, thank you for the update. And we continue to follow breaking news tonight. A former Major League Baseball pitcher has been found guilty of first-degree murder following the 2021 death of his father-in-law. This is new video inside the courtroom showing Daniel Serafini as the judge read out the jury's verdict. Serafini looked up at the ceiling and shook his head as if in disbelief, occasionally looking over at his wife, Erin Spoor, who testified in his defense. Serafini was also found guilty of burglary and attempted murder of his mother-in-law. ABC 10's Luke Cleary is outside the Placer County Courthouse tonight.
Alex, today marked an emotional ending to this 6-week trial and a 4-year ordeal for a family that has been torn apart by a brutal crime. Dan Serafini was found guilty for murdering his father-in-law and attempting to murder his mother-in-law at their Lake Tahoe home in June of 2021. Other members of the Spoor family shed tears of joy and relief. They called this guilty verdict justice served. Adrienne Spoor is Erin Spoor's sister and daughter of the victims too. After hearing from her, you'll also hear from one of the jurors who explained the deciding factor in this verdict.
It's been 4 years since my mom and dad were shot, and it's been 4 years of just hell. And the Placer County District Attorney's Office and Sheriff's Office never gave up, and today finally justice was served.
For us, it came down to, if it wasn't Mr. Serafini, who else could it have been? And then for us, it was, would it be better if we had him, the person we think it is, go away, or letting him go and the chance of anything like this happening again?
The jury deliberated for 2.5 days here at the Placer County Courthouse. They said they watched back video evidence frame by frame to be sure of their judgment. Serafini will remain in custody with no bail pending sentencing, which is now set for August 18th. Reporting in Placer County, Luke Clary, ABC 10.
For more coverage of the Daniel Serafini murder trial verdict and what was said outside of the courtroom, you can download the free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. That app is available to download to your TV, and our coverage continues tonight on Late News Tonight at 11. Tonight, Sacramento police are investigating an officer-involved shooting. They say involved a man with a sword. This happened on Occidental and Juilliard Drive. Police say the man was threatening to kill his roommate. He would not drop the weapon, and they say when the man advanced towards police, an officer opened fire. We are waiting for an update on that man's condition. And tonight, a trash problem is continuing to pile up. Public service workers are striking, and it's having big impacts right here in Northern California. In the Stockton area, people say they have been waiting for 5 days for their trash to be picked up. Public services are in a backlog, which means different things for different cities. In Stockton, for now, no recycling and no organics being picked up, just those black garbage bins days late. The Teamsters Union representing workers is fighting for better working conditions.
Sitting here dealing with family and all the holidays came and gone. Still waiting for garbage to be picked up. You pay your bills on time, you figure that that type of service will be already been dealt with already, but unfortunately not.
Our landfill right now is in an open contract, so I know we are actually negotiating. So we had all the other local unions standing in solidarity with us.
Sympathy strikes causing this scene in Fairfield. The city opened garbage drop-off sites, dumpsters overflowing in just minutes. In Lathrop and the Bay Area, trash delays too. And then take a look at this. Trash is even overflowing in Massachusetts. Some businesses are now paying fees to get their trash removed, and it's been sitting in the sun for about 10 days. They say with tariffs, immigration, and the workforce, trash service is now one more thing businesses have to worry about. Coming up on To The Point, housing market hesitation. Despite a recent boom, why the mood to move seems to be souring even more. Plus new details tonight and an immigration raid turning deadly, and just how many people have been arrested in California so far.
And as expected, it was a hot day today. 98 in Sacramento, triple digits Stockton, Modesto, but more mild weather is just around the corner. Forecast coming up.
But first, in other headlines. 2 fast-moving wildfires are growing near the Grand Canyon. Lightning sparked one of them last week. Another was a controlled burn that grew rapidly. A water treatment plant caught fire and released toxic chlorine gas. The historic Grand Canyon Lodge also destroyed just after people were forced to leave.
I just felt like such a special place to be there, and to think that it just all got annihilated after we were only there a few hours.
It's not clear when firefighters will gain control of these flames. As the fire risk grows, a massive, dramatic fire tornado caught on camera in southeastern Utah. Tonight, hundreds of people remain evacuated, and at least 5 homes have been destroyed. And in California, this is the Max fire burning in the Sierra National Forest. This is just outside of Fresno near Pine Flat Lake. Some campers and visitors in the area have been evacuated. Firefighters say the fire is burning northeast. And fire season is year-round. To help you be prepared, you can stream our wildfire special on the free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. Look for California wildfires preparing for peak danger on the home screen.
Welcome back. It is July and the heat, of course, is here. And this year, it means the State Fair started a little later than normal. So today, the California State Fair started at 4 in the afternoon. That's how hot it'll be. The fair is open Monday through Thursday from 4 to 10 p.m., then Friday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the State Fair started on Friday and runs through July 27th. I want to get over to meteorologist Brendan Minchef because I want to see the conditions for the fair, but also you're tracking a weather impact alert, right?
Yeah, weather impact alert continues through the rest of this evening, but the good news is the worst of that heat is now behind us. However, talking about the State Fair, whenever we talk about the opening of the State Fair, it usually means it's hot. For 3 years in a row, the opening day of the California State Fair has been in the triple digits. Of course, for us last Friday, it was 102 degrees. Last year's opening of the State Fair was 108 degrees. So will it be 4 years in a row? We'll stick around, find out next year. Today, 98 in Sacramento. Not as hot as it was last Friday, but warmer than the last couple days. 101 in Stockton, 100 in Modesto, 97 in Auburn, 91 up in Truckee. Temperatures in the valley were 5 degrees warmer than normal for the time of year. It's currently 93, feels like 94 in Sacramento. But as we get that Delta breeze picking up, it is going to start to feel cooler than that actual temperature. There's just a little tiny bit of humidity out there in the Sacramento area late this afternoon that did make that heat index, right? That feels like temperature a little bit warmer than the actual temperature, but right now it does match. Again, as that breeze starts to pick up, things are going to feel a lot better out there. 15 miles per hour across the valley. We'll be in the mid 80s by 8 o'clock, upper 70s by 9 o'clock, towards midnight, mid 60s. Clear skies through the overnight, although we could see a few marine stratus trying to work their way into the delta. I don't expect widespread coverage of that, but potentially a few. Breezy and seasonal with low temperatures in the upper 50s and low 60s. Warm to hot tomorrow afternoon, 89 in Sacramento. That's below normal. However, we're still going to be in those mid 90s in the San Joaquin Valley and upper 90s in places like Colusa. The weather impact alert continues until 11 o'clock tonight because that heat advisory in the upper Sacramento Valley will continue. However, it drops at 11 o'clock, and the only ones that will be left will be up in Siskiyou County and Modoc County up in the far northern part of the state because high temperatures for the next couple days are going to be between 95 and 105 in the far northern part of California. High pressure starts to move out, though, and that's going to send our temperatures falling. We're going to be in the mid 80s by the middle part of this week. And as we look ahead towards this coming weekend, highs in the low to mid 90s in the valley. So that'll be at or just a little bit below seasonal, better than where we were this weekend. Alex?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Right after the break, the new lawsuit filed against the Trump administration over funding local schools and housing market hesitation, what potential buyers and sellers need to know right now. Welcome back in. Continuing coverage tonight of ICE raids in Southern California. This man, Jaime Alanis Garcia, who worked at a farm for 10 years, died over the weekend following a raid at a Ventura County farm last week. His family tells the Associated Press he was the family's only provider and had been sending money back to his wife and daughter in Mexico. In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security said Garcia was not in their custody. And this is video from that raid and protests that followed. DHS now says more than 360 people were arrested at 2 Southern California marijuana farms in this area last week, marking one of the largest operations since President Trump took office in January. And tonight, the New York Times reports ICE arrests are up in every state. They report that nearly 3,000 people have been arrested in the Los Angeles area since the beginning of June. That is more than 3 times the number in previous years. They say that's according to UC Berkeley, who sued the federal government for the data. And California is one of more than 20 states now suing the Trump administration over billions in frozen funding for students. Congress set aside that money, including $900 million for California, for programs to provide academic support, enrichment, and childcare to mostly low-income families. 1.4 million children and teenagers around the nation have been attending after school and summer programming at a Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, or a public school for free thanks to federal funding.
Already ongoing summer learning programs have been forced to shut down. Thoughtful strategic budgets, staffing plans, and contracts for the upcoming school year hang in the balance.
The Trump administration paused the money this month, saying it wants to ensure programs align with the president's priorities. All right, let's get into your price points tonight. Under President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill, big changes are coming to how students and parents will borrow federal money to help pay for college. And it comes as the average cost of college tuition and fees at public institutions has risen about 141% over the last 20 years. According to the Washington Post, one of the biggest changes will be to the Parent Plus loans. Parents will be able to borrow only $20,000 per year or $65,000 total per undergraduate student in federal loans. And under repayment assistance plans, borrowers who take out loans after July 2026 will be allowed to pay based on income.
There's sort of a new standard payment, which will give people some people longer to pay the loans, which means their monthly payments will be lower, but you're going to pay more in interest.
Borrowers whose federal student loan interest payments were halted under the Biden administration will now have to pay that interest beginning August 1st, which is just right around the corner. All right, stamps just got more expensive. The price of a U.S. Postal Service Forever stamp is now 78 cents. That is up a nickel, and that means sending postcards will now cost 62 cents each, and sending a letter to another country will cost $1.70. It has been 5 years since the pandemic home buying boom, but now the mood among Americans looking to make a big move seems to be souring even more. Karen Kaifa has a look at what potential buyers and sellers need to know right now.
Interest rates have pushed mortgage rates higher while home prices continue to climb in many parts of the country, leaving the housing market in a sticky situation.
The housing market's in a really unusual place right now. It's a strange combination of record high home prices and then very low home sales. And all of that's a hangover from the pandemic.
Bankrate housing market analyst Jeff Ostrowski says their research indicates more homeowners are hesitant to make a move.
The idea being they don't want to sell at a mortgage rate above 6% because that means they're going to have to go out and finance their next place at more than 6%.
Zillow senior economist Orphe Divingi says overall economic uncertainty is rattling the market too.
Remember, when people are uncertain about the future, their future income prospects, well, they tend to sit on their wallets.
And affordability is improving according to Zillow's data, but remains stretched.
The increase in prices, the increase in mortgage rates in the past few years really means that the typical buyer today really needs a lot more to be able to get into the house.
That means first-time buyers may have to make some trade-offs.
Maybe it's a townhouse, maybe it's a fixer-upper, maybe it's a place in a neighborhood that's not your first choice. But definitely this housing market has forced first-time buyers to make compromises.
And while potential home buyers may be nostalgic for the low mortgage rates of the pandemic era, Ostrowski says they're unlikely to return anytime soon. In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
Coming up, a major milestone in Southern California's wildfire recovery. Welcome back in. It has been just over 6 months now since wildfires devastated Los Angeles and more than 12,000 homes were destroyed. Now the state is advertising that the hardest areas of Malibu and Altadena are open for business as recovery continues. And Cal OES shared this video today as they've helped reopen the Pacific Coast Highway and other major roads. The governor's office is calling this the fastest major disaster cleanup in American history. The LA fires cleanup is now the second largest in state history after the Camp Fire. For many families like the Jenkins and the Betts who lost their Altadena homes, they've never had to recover from something like this.
We all kind of had to learn by trial and error. There was no template or anything to kind of go off of, so we just had to kind of figure things out and communicate through the family, different resources and things and deadlines to try to help everybody kind of stay on track.
They say family members are now scattered throughout California as they try to rebuild their lives. The state says more than 9,000 properties have been cleared of debris, with several hundred more awaiting erosion control and a final sign-off. As always, thank you so much for watching and for always inviting us into your home. If you have something that you think me and the team should be looking into, you can always email us to thepoint@abc10.com. And I know we cover a lot of ground, a lot of stories, but if you want to catch up on any or you want to rewatch some shows, you can always download the free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app straight to your TV. Have a great night. Stay cool. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.